For this edition of the CNBC Conversation, I'm joined here in Switzerland by the CEO of Lindt Sprüngli, Adalbert Lechner. Adalbert, so great to have you. Thank you.
Great to have you here, Carolin in Kielsberg. Welcome.
All right, Easter is just around the corner. So this is one of the most important selling seasons for you, alongside Christmas, of course. Can I ask you, are you expecting a good Easter?
Absolutely. So we expect a great Easter season. I think the date is also good. You know, the date is fluctuating from end of March to end of April. Mid of April is normally a very good date for Easter. People are already in the spring mood, and at the same time, it's not too hot. So I think we have good preconditions to have a great Easter.
You know, we have this iconic golden Easter bunny made by Lindt Sprüngli here with us. It's worth noting that during Easter, this little fella is sold 150 million times in more than 60 countries. But this year around, Adalbert, I feel like this very innocent little fella is dealing with a lot. Record high cocoa prices, a trade war, and I want to talk to you about some of these issues here. Let's kick off with the trade war and tariffs. Obviously, Switzerland was hit by 31%. Currently, at this point in time, there's a pause. Things change every day, it seems. So how are you dealing with that? What does it mean for your business?
I have to mention that we employ nearly 4,000 people in the US. We run 5 factories there. So the impact of all these tariffs and of the trade war is relatively limited to us. That's the positive side. On the other side, even for those companies that produce in the US, the tariffs have an impact, because so far there is a plan that even for the raw materials like cocoa, which are imported from abroad, because cocoa unfortunately doesn't grow in the US, there is a 10% tariff plan, so this would further increase the prices of chocolate in the US. We still hope that these tariffs are challenged and hopefully abolished. But otherwise, we don't see any disadvantage to local producers in the US market.
You have 5 production sites in the U.S. currently. 95% of your U.S. production is actually manufactured, is made in the U.S. Do you feel like when it comes to the U.S. business, which is one of your biggest businesses, you're insulated? Would you go as far as saying that you're insulated from tariffs?
Yes, we are to a certain extent. We are more insulated by the consumer sentiment currently. So we have seen already last year that the US-American chocolate market has been the weakest globally. That's new to us. Normally the American consumers enjoy their lives and indulge themselves. For the first time, the volume in the US chocolate market declined substantially. And so far we don't see a real recovery in this market. So we hope that the consumer sentiment at one point in time is more positive and optimistic. On the other side, you know, a premium product like ours is normally bought in good as well as in bad times. It is solace at the same time as it is a reward. And like we outperformed the market last year and gained market share in volume and in value in the US, I'm confident that we will do the same in this year. But of course, if the market has a positive momentum, our growth is also stronger and we enjoy a better dynamic.
Mm-hmm. Can I come back to the tariff situation for a moment here? Obviously, a great deal of uncertainty right now as to whether this will actually become more permanent. Canada is one of your biggest markets. You talked about potentially rearranging the supply chains and the production flows there, bringing some of it back to Europe. Is there a sense that there is a lot of uncertainty, but you're going to have to act now? How are you thinking about rearranging some of these flows? And how is that going to hit margins?
I mean, our supply chain is constantly optimized. Yeah? So we have different factors. If freight rates go up, the evaluation where you source can be different. Then if you have tariffs, you will come to another conclusion. So I think this is something normal, which is an ongoing process. At the moment, we don't plan to change anything. So we can say Canada is already sourcing 50% of its volume outside of the US, 50% is coming from the US. So we are evaluating how the tariffs are developing and how freight rates are developing, and then we will draw conclusions and adopt our sourcing policy accordingly.
It's really interesting to hear you talk about softer consumer sentiment in the U.S. just now. The tariff situation is hitting the entire world. What are you seeing in the rest of the world in terms of the knock-on impact on consumer sentiment?
It's hard to predict, but if you hear the experts, they don't predict anything positive out of this trade war. The outlook for the GDP growth is corrected. It will be softer than expected. Consumer sentiment, consumers are insecure at the moment. What's going on are their jobs in danger? Will inflation kick in again? Now we saw a nice softening of the inflation. I think we have to be patient now. I think that the postponement for 90 days is a very optimistic sign. It's very positive. So obviously the US government is open for negotiations. And I would say I'm optimistic that we will see less of an impact as we expected 1 week ago.
China really is in the eye of the storm. And China is a market that is also very important to you. It has been soft for a long time. It has just started to improve once again. What are your hopes there, and what is your expectation there?
I mean, the tariffs do not impact us in China because we don't import from the US. There have been talks now between the EU and China. They go in the right direction, I would say. Consumer sentiment was also relatively weak in China, but we have seen positive signals second half of 24. So I'm more optimistic for China. We have enjoyed double-digit growth last year, nearly 20%, and that's what we also plan for the years to come. In addition, we are successful in many markets with our own retail channel, with Lindt shops that we open. We have not yet opened shops next to the e-shop in China, and I think we have a huge potential ahead of us that we are exploring.
The Lindt Easter Bunny, it's been one of the world's favorite Easter treats for more than 50 years, and 150 million of these get sold annually. But with cocoa prices at record highs and the threat of tariffs looming, could these seasonal luxuries be getting more expensive? We talked about the challenges for this little gold bunny. So one was tariffs, of course, a softer consumer sentiment. Let's talk about the record levels and the record volatility in cocoa prices, which is, of course, not just impacting you, but the entire chocolate industry. Now, looking at analyst notes, they love your stock. Why? Because you're so resilient to the fluctuation and the record high levels of cocoa prices. They call you the safe haven of chocolate makers. What's the recipe here? What are you doing differently from others?
I think the recipe is that we have very strong brands. We have strong premium brands with a high desirability for consumers. And this gives us also kind of a resilience. We have never been competing via price with our competition. Our promise was always better taste, better quality. And I think this is paying off now in times like this, when others, compare every cent, and 10 cents more is already a disadvantage. When others sold their products heavily on promotion, we never did. So consumers know that for a premium indulgence, which is a very mindful consumption, it's not something that you eat every day in high amounts, but you really reward yourself with this moment of bliss. When it comes to this moment, 10 cents or 20 cents more doesn't make a difference. You buy this product because you want to show the appreciation to whomever you give this Easter bunny. And also when prices go up, you're relatively resilient because you cannot substitute it with private label or anything else.
You said earlier this year you're going to be passing on the higher prices from the record cocoa price in double-digit percentages. Yes. Again, that's quite a big amount, but as you seem to indicate, your consumer, they're willing to take that one. Do you feel like there's a limit as to how much you can push through, though?
I would say we are very cautious in passing on prices, and it's not correct when we say we fully pass it on. So first and utmost, we try to mitigate the higher cocoa prices with efficiency increases, with cost consciousness, and that's what we did. But still, the magnitude of these increases in raw material forced us also in the last years to pass on a certain amount to the consumers. Of course, we try to figure out which product groups the price elasticity is lower and which product groups like gifting, for example, or seasonal products that you buy once a year, the elasticity is a bit lower, and so we try to adopt our pricing to also this knowledge. Altogether, we can say Lindt & Sprüngli has a stronger pricing power than some of our competitors.
We don't have a crystal ball at this point, but do you have any visibility on the trajectory of cocoa prices? There are many factors here. There's a virus, there's climate change, but do you have some visibility here on where it could go?
We had 3 years in a row a deficit in cocoa production. So cocoa production was lower than the demand. Of course, that was the key driver of the soaring cocoa prices. Now the question is, now two things happen. With the high prices, it's more attractive to plant cocoa. So we see that in many areas the cocoa plantation is increasing, that increases the product offer. At the same time, the high prices destroy the demand. So we see declining chocolate markets, like in the US last year, more than 5% volume decline. So we believe that offer and demand are more balanced now. We don't expect another deficit. And for the years to come, to be honest, we expect a surplus. And once a surplus is materializing, fundamentally the prices should come down. Then you can add another component, which is speculation. This is the uncertain and the unknown. So, but this whole mix together would indicate that we have reached kind of a peak, and cocoa prices should come down slightly or massively, depending on all these factors and on the mix. But what is also clear in our analysis, we don't believe that they will ever come down to the levels where they have been before. Why? Because this, as you mentioned, these plant diseases will not go away. So in the key countries for cocoa production in West Africa, the crops and yields will be lower than they used to be in the past time. And the other thing is that the input costs have increased dramatically. Right. Today, all the sustainability programs, all the decarbonization programs, all the programs for, let's say, to ensure a living income for the farmers are so costly that even if the fundamentals would change, cocoa price has to be higher than it used to be in the past time. So therefore, I think we all have to be prepared that the chocolate prices will be higher than they have been in the past time. On the other side, probably we also didn't have a healthy level of chocolate prices. We had more or less for 2 to 3 decades a stagnation of the chocolate prices. This was partly owed to productivity increases in production, but partly also to probably too low prices for the raw material. And I think if this somehow levels out on a healthy level, it's good for all stakeholders.
Mm-hmm. Let's say you're right, and this was the peak in terms of cocoa prices. It will come down. Are you also going to push through these decreases to the customer, to the end consumer?
If we are in the position, that's for sure will happen. Yeah.
All right. So again, we talked about the challenges for this little gold bunny, our best friend here. And in the face of all these headwinds and challenges, I guess the only thing you can do is try and differentiate yourself from the competitors through innovation. How are you thinking about that? How are you doing that?
It has always been the credo of Lindt & Sprüngli to be innovative, to surprise our consumers with new recipes, with new packaging, with new design additions. You know, our purpose statement is we enchant the world with chocolate. And to enchant means that you do a bit more than satisfy the needs of consumers. You try to over-exceed or as mentioned, to surprise them. And innovation is very important in our industry because people, and so we are not a part of nutrition, but we are part of indulgence. So we are not a product that you need, but we are a product that you want. And therefore we have to work to create this desire, to create this enchantment every day. The latest example is the Dubai chocolate. It was a hype created in social media. I think most of you have heard about it. And it was us being the first big chocolate company to pick up this trend because we were able to do it, because we are the only big chocolate company that has a strong direct-to-consumer business with our own stores.
Were you surprised by how well the sales have been going? I mean, I still see it everywhere, airports everywhere. It doesn't seem like this hype is abating. And my question to you is, obviously you saw the trend on TikTok, on social media, you were able to capitalize on it. But is that going to be a more, let's say, a more important channel going forward, a more important approach, seizing on the trends, seizing on the what's gone viral?
To your first question, were we surprised? We were more than surprised. We were overwhelmed. When we launched it, we said, okay, probably it's only for the younger ones who are on TikTok. And if we announce it in social media, do we have the credibility? Will anyone of this young generation go to our stores?
And they did.
And we announced it, and people were queuing up at 2 o'clock in the night, waiting for the first limited samples of this Dubai chocolate.
But that's the key, you limited it, right?
We had to limit it.
It's about exclusivity.
It was scarcity, it was exclusivity, but still we were overwhelmed that people were so interested in this product. Then the next thing, they sold it on eBay for 400, 500 euros or Swiss francs. We were surprised again. So we were so much overwhelmed by this demand that we decided to bring it on our production lines. So we had to change the recipe slightly, but we found a great recipe, and now we can offer it, as you said, in the wholesale distribution. You find it on airports, you find it in supermarkets. And again, we were surprised that the demand it became one of our strongest items within no time. The lesson that we have learned is that today the power of social media is something that you cannot compare with anything ever happened in the past times.
Social media, we've just established that, is a hugely important channel. But then the more traditional outlets, where you meet your clients in big locations like London, where you just opened Piccadilly, one of the most eminent stores in the country, in the world, that is also still hugely important to you. So talk to us about the different areas, the different channels of how you create that demand and sell the vision and the story.
I mean, one thing is for clear, our key channel is the traditional retail stores in this world, the Tesco's, the Edekas, the Coops, the Sainsbury's, etc. This will always be the heart and the center of our distribution, because we are at the end a mass market brand. You cannot do TV advertising if your product is not available. So it's important that the product is available where our consumers shop. Right. But in addition, for those who are really fans of Lindt, who are striving for a personalized gift, or who want to enjoy the full variety of our products, we run our own direct-to-consumer channels, namely these 600 stores, our e-shops. We have in more than 20 countries, we have our own e-shops, and our credo there is we want to offer the full abundance of our assortment. We want to offer an immersive experience for our consumers, that they really say, I'm in Willy Wonka land, and I can get from any size and any flavor of Gold Bunny up to more than 30 flavors of Lindt or Pick and Mix, that's the centerpiece in every store, to a personalized product like a Gold Bunny with my name on it, or a gift box with my name on it, etc.
After all, we live in the experience economy, and let me pick your brain about the future of the business. You're at the top of the premium segment, of course, you're very well established there, but then going forward, this is a consumer who's very health conscious, who's maybe on, anti-obesity medication. How do you think about what the consumer wants? They want to be a healthy individual. So where do you fit into that? We
fit in perfectly into this trend, because we see a trend away from quantity more to quality. So less but a better quality, because at the end, even if I think we all are health conscious, but we still want to enjoy our lives. We still want to have some indulgence. To be health conscious doesn't mean that you live from water and bread, but it means that you take care of yourself. you self-optimize yourself, you take care of your health, but taking care of your health also means happiness, also means to have moments that you enjoy, where you indulge yourself, and that's where we come in. So we have never promoted a heavy usage of our products. We have never said, eat us the whole day or eat 1 kilo of Lindt chocolate a day. But as mentioned, even in our advertising, we promote this moment of bliss, this little treat, this affordable luxury, where you reward yourself for everything that you achieved in your life.
What's next for your company? You have a huge presence all around the world, but analysts point out there's even more sort of opportunity when it comes to the emerging markets. Where are you going to grow?
We are currently we have a strong footprint in Europe, and we have a strong footprint in North America. Outside of these two areas, we are super weak. And so I could say the growth comes from outside, or we call it rest of the world. It generates 30% of the total chocolate market, and it is a very small amount in our portfolio. But the good thing is that last year, for example, we experienced nearly a double-digit growth, also in the markets where we are established for decades. In Europe, we managed to grow close to 10%, and here our brands are established more than 100 years. So we celebrate this year a very important anniversary. Our company turns 180 years. So this shows also the history, the heritage, also the knowledge and the know-how that we have gathered through all these generations in our company. So in those markets where we were founded, we are not yet maxed out. We are still growing double-digit. Then we have a huge potential in North America, where our market share is not even half the size that we see here in Europe. And as mentioned, we are on the way with a lot of effort and with a lot of passion also to conquer all these other markets. And we have a strong indication that these markets are really waiting for a premium brand like Lindt.
Adalbert, as you just mentioned, the company that you're currently running is turning 180 years old, which is incredible. You've been CEO of this company for 3 years now. You're running up towards retirement potentially in a couple years' time. What are your plans? Can I ask you? Because you haven't made that public. And also, what's the legacy that you personally, as the CEO of this company, want to leave behind?
Yeah. So first of all, good that you mentioned, yes, I'm 3 years the CEO of this company, but I'm more than 32 years with this company. So I would say I've experienced the whole journey of Lindt Sprüngli, from a relatively local, small company to a more global company and to a significantly bigger company. About my retirement, you know, this is still a very personal decision. And even if there are some age brackets that are common, it doesn't mean that my personal decision has to be in line with these age brackets. So I'm a very happy and passionate CEO of this company, and I would say as long as I enjoy this job and my team also enjoys to work with me on the success of this company, I will continue. And if you ask me about the legacy, I have a clear vision where I want to lead this company by 2030. And I would say we are on track to do so. I think the best is yet to come. We have so many opportunities and potential globally, and if we are able to continue to explore and exploit this potential, I think I will retire happily.
Adalbert Lechner, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us here on the CNBC Conversation. Adalbert Lechner, the CEO of Lindt Sprüngli.
Thank you, Carolin. It was great to have you here.
I don't think those people realize how rigorous